Kinds of Kindness ending might be just as strange and fascinating as the rest of Yorgos Lanthimos' latest film. It's an anthology that follows a triptych format and features the Kinds of Kindness cast playing different characters in each segment. Kinds of Kindness reviews were positive overall, and its final segment, RMF Eats a Sandwich, sees Emma Stone's Emily attempting to find Ruth, Margaret Qualley, who can bring people back from the dead, in a bid to please Omi and aka Willem Dafoe and Hong Chow, respectively, and return to the sex cult they lead. After being banished from the cult for being contaminated, Emily is more determined than ever to prove herself. Emily drugs Ruth and brings her to the morgue so she can resurrect RMF from the dead. Emily forces Ruth to put her hand on RMF and the man wakes up. Thrilled, Emily puts Ruth in her car to take her back to Omi and aka, but in her haste to get there, and not ensure Ruth has her seatbelt on, swerves and crashes the car. Ruth flies out of the windshield and dies. Kinds of Kindness RMF mystery explained. RMF is the only constant throughout the film. RMF is a mysterious figure who appears in each segment. He's also the only member of the cast who remains in the same role. In The Death of RMF, he's someone who consents to be killed by Robert, who refuses Raymond's request initially. In RMF is Flying, the character appears briefly flying a helicopter, and he's brought back to life by Ruth, and subsequently eats said sandwich, in RMF Eats a Sandwich. RMF is the sole connection between the three parts, though what his initials stand for is unclear. While his significance is never explained, RMF's presence grounds Kinds of Kindness to reality despite the absurdity of its three stories. RMF doesn't know any of the other characters directly, though it's possible he's some kind of immortal being who stays constant while everything else changes around him. RMF could be a godlike stand-in who simply watches everyone do strange things, an observer of sorts. After all, he seems rather unfazed by the fact that he's brought back to life and nearly killed in a car crash twice. Regardless of what he's doing, RMF likely sees the cycle of his life and death as an inevitability and doesn't resist them. He's the one giving up control over his life, not beholden to anyone else, whereas every other character in Yorgos Lanthimos' movie is working in service of someone or something. While Mamadou Athie and Joe Alwyn are among those who wear various masks, depending on the story, RMF is the epitome of how one can be themselves so long as they're not trying to please other people. What all three Kinds of Kindness segments have in common. They may not be the same story, but they share similarities. The cast of Kinds of Kindness hug each other in movie still. Though all three segments of Kinds of Kindness are different, they also complement each other thematically. Each character, in one way or another, is attempting to gain someone's approval. Whether that means Robert killing someone to stay in the good graces of Raymond, who holds power over him, or Liz trying to keep the love of her husband by fulfilling every outrageous and terrible request. The characters all do things to essentially maintain the status quo. They are dominated or, depending on the story, are the ones doing the dominating.